And we are live on YouTube. Welcome everyone to the season finale of season 1, Goddess Vibrations, a Spiritual Sexual Empowerment Show. I'm super excited because we have a powerful group here today of some of your favorite guests. And I know that because these were the most watched episodes as I was scanning through the playlist. These are your folks. And so I brought them all back. And we are going to answer your questions. So thank you to everyone who submitted a question. If this format goes well, maybe we'll do a little bit of this in season 2 as well. So thank you everyone for being here. For those of you watching live, feel free to shoot your questions in the chat box. I'm going to kind of keep an eye on that as I'm moderating tonight too. Oh, by the way, I'm Natasha Edwina. I'm the host of this show. I'm the founder of this show. It's based on my dissertation research on female sexuality, spiritual experiences, Kundalini, that sort of thing. And all of these folks are experts as well in the lived embodiment of this concept. So really excited. I'm going to go around and have everybody introduce themselves briefly to you. So if you haven't been acquainted with one of these folks before, you know who they are. And that will give me a little time to get my screen set up over here too. So who wants to start? Maybe the power couple?
I guess that's us.
Welcome, Kirti and Shofar.
What's up?
Hey.
Hello, everybody. My name is Kirti, and I am with Dilse Culture. Dilse means from the heart, and culture, you know what that is. So this is all heart-based culture work right here. Dun, 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 dun.
Thank you. Peace, family. Peace, everybody out there through time and space. I'm Shofar, and Kirti and me, we work with couples and singles. And then the name of my business is Faux Show Energy Work. Faux Show means Buddha hand. So just know that your power is always in your hands.
Thank you, Sho. Who's next? We just go in order, maybe like go counterclockwise since we are the black sheep of culture. So maybe we'll go counterclockwise with Devante. Actually, that's still counterclockwise on YouTube.
Greetings, guys and goddesses. Thank you so much, Natasha, for having me on your show. I'm Devante Shear from Wealthy 10K Life, and I'm a spiritual / Forex guide. I offer the physical manifestation of the spiritual intelligence. So I teach spirituality is the fruit and spirituality is the root and Forex is the fruit.
I love that. And I also have to tell everybody that you are awesome at astrology as well. You're in the know with that. So I want to throw that out just in case anybody has some of those little questions to ask. Thank you so much for being here. Tara, Sister Goddess Tara, welcome back. Your show was very popular, very juicy, very raw, and very interesting.
Beautiful. I love it. I love when it gets people awakened a little. Mm-hmm. So I'm Tara, and I am a sex, love, and relationship coach. I come from 21 years of massage therapy. I was actually a holistic nutrition coach, yoga teacher, and then I started studying sex therapy and decided it was too limiting and became a sex coach instead so that I can help people around the world. And I specialize in really helping women to heal from toxic relationships and unfulfilling relationships and how to deeply fall in love with their selves on a deep embodiment level, including their sexuality, and really show up in the world that way, really authentically, and break the cycle of toxicity within themselves and with everyone that's around them. So that's kind of what I specialize in, and it's my passion. So yeah.
Welcome back. Happy to have you here. And last but not least, Chad.
Hey, peace and blessings, everyone. Hey, thank you for including me in this, Natasha, as well. So my name's Chad Mckinney. I have an organization, One Love Holistic Health, and I do energy body work and also speaking engagements at companies and schools for mindfulness and things of that nature.
Can I share a big brag too, that I know you have a little bit of success that you've experienced?
Yeah, please. Thank you.
Yeah, your book. So he has a book out, Heaven in the Now, which got put in the San Diego airport. So it's right there in a couple of the bookstores. Yeah.
Yeah, actually all the terminals right now. Thank you.
Wow. Yeah, super proud of you, super excited. It's a great book. Everybody should go check it out on Amazon. Chad Mckinney, Heaven. Is it Heaven in the Now on Amazon as well, or is it the former title? Okay.
Yep. Yeah. Heaven in the Now, Journey Through Mind, Body, and Soul.
Yeah.
And actually, I referenced Shofar's book in there. If you go through the citations, you'll see Shofar's book in there as well, too, referenced in there.
And that one, my partner has read Shofar's book 3 times. That was before he met me. And so I don't know how many more times he's going to read it now, but yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those you read a lot.
Yeah. Both amazing books. So thank you. And that's Shofar's book. I know I tagged it on my Instagram, is Sacred Orgasmic Living Soul. And that's also where's the best place for people to get that, Shofar? It's on.
They can go to my website, Full Show Energy Work, or you can go to lulu.com, LULU.com.
Yeah, and I would say be sitting down when you start to read chapter 1, because it is a little bit of a, you're like, whoa, didn't expect that. Okay, hey, Shofar, that's Shofar. So yeah, just a little
That's Heaven in the Now.
Yeah, and I did appreciate Chad's stories in the book too, Chad. I felt like I got to know you a little bit deeper just from reading your book. So
thank you.
Yeah. All right. So here we go. Where do we start? I think we're going to start. I got quite a few questions. Some of them I grouped together because they were really great questions. And the first one I think we'll start with, it's kind of the same question, but it was asked to me from the masculine, from a man, and then it was kind of the same question asked from a woman. So I thought, perfect. We have men and women on this group, so we can pipe in about the answers to these questions. Okay, so this first one came from a man first, and he asked, he's in his 20s. What are some examples of foreplay a man can do that a woman would like, but also makes him feel confident and empowered? So hold that for a minute. And then the woman in her 30s says, how best to get your partner to seduce you in the way you like. For example, the masculine literally / figuratively is ready to fuck right away, but the feminine needs time to warm up and open up. If he wants some, instead of putting his boner against you in bed, LOL, how can we get him to warm you up properly without being told? So you can see one is being very polite, the other one's she's just gonna put it all out there, which I appreciate. So that's the masculine and the feminine, but it's kind of the same question, right? Like he's asking, how do I turn her on? Because I'm ready to go, but I know she has to be warmed up and turned on. But how do I do that, but still feel like confident and empowered, like I'm the man, instead of like I'm simply your servant or whatever else? And how does she tell him what to do without having to tell him what to do? It's like that Instagram meme, right? Like, how do you know you're broke without saying you're broke, kind of thing, or whatever the trend is. Like, how do you tell him what to do without telling him what to do? Okay. Anybody have something coming up? Are you hot? Show me. Chad. All right.
Yeah, number one, you don't tell them.
Well, Tara's fanning herself, so we're gonna go first to Chad.
I'm just not here though. I'm just hot.
We're about to get a lot hotter after the answer to this question comes out. I can tell.
Yeah, I really just want to, women ask these questions all the time because pussy loves detail, right? Pussy loves detail. We need to know all the juicy details about everything. We're like, how was your day? And a man comes home and he's like, it was okay. We're like, no, like, who'd you run into? What did they say? What were they wearing? Did they look at you funny? It's the same thing that we like when we want to be turned on. Number one, you can't not say anything. You have to communicate. And it's hard because we're not taught how to have sex. We're not taught how to have good sex. We're taught that we're supposed to also be born into these bodies. And nowadays, a lot of the only education we have around sex is porn. And what is porn? It's fantasy. And I really actually want to dispel the truth, this truth told that's not really a truth, which is that all men are just ready to go right then and there, because that's actually not a truth. There are as many men out there that have a sensual lovemaking style as there are women. And I've actually heard a lot of men complain about, oh, sometimes she just goes right for me and I need to be warmed up. I need her to like talk to me a little more, like right away, just coming to bring your hand down my pants. Like, come on, I feel so used. Some of the guys say that to me. And it really does have a lot to do with age, experience, connection. But the biggest takeaway from that is, number one, as a woman, if you do not have a healthy self-pleasure practice, if you are not falling in love with your own body, no matter what it looks like, if you're not gazing at your own pussy in a mirror and finding the beauty in it and the love, and then finding out what touch turns you on. Do you like light touch, heavier touch? Do you like when someone's calling you and speaking erotic or romantic things to you today and engaging your audio or your visual first before they even come near you? So each woman, as well as each man, has different kinds of turn-ons or kinks or sensuality or energetics. And so the biggest thing for women is we can't expect our partners to know what to do if we don't know what to do. It's just like expecting someone to see the value of you when you don't see the value of yourself. How does someone want to come in and treat you like a queen if you're treating yourself like a pauper? If you want a man to completely worship the goddess you are, you have to become the goddess, and it requires self-practice. And as a man, the easiest thing that you can do, honestly, is every time you're with a new partner, or even with a partner you've been with for years, we change, we grow, we actually expand. We're not the same person we were 5 years ago. We're not the same person we were 5 months ago. Sit down and have regular conversations, or start with the conversation out of the bedroom, not while you're naked, but out of the bedroom. What do you like? What do you dislike? What kind of touch turns you on? Or what are turn-ons? What are turn-offs? And find out with curiosity, with pure curiosity, and then practice that. And then take time to actually talk about it after, not in the bedroom while naked, but maybe over coffee or dinner, and say, hey, that experience was really good for me. How did you experience it? And really listen. And if you feel triggered, just breathe through it. Listen with open heart, open mind, and really receive from both ends what worked, what didn't work, coming in with curiosity. Maybe in essence, I'm curious because I want to know how to be a better lover. There's no technique that really works for one person or all people. So that's kind of it's a loaded question, because we all want that. How does it work? But every body is different. And every body has different things that light them up, turn them off. And so that's, I think, the biggest thing is communication, mostly out of the bedroom, during a time when you're both relaxed and open and willing to hear each other, and come in curiosity. And for women, absolutely get to know your body, learn how to love, appreciate her, and know what turns her on, so that you can say, no, I don't like that. I love that though, before you get to the bedroom. So
thank you. And so that's like before you get to the bedroom, but if you're like, if he's, how does he let her know that he's ready without, like, again, shoving the boner up against her? Maybe she's tired of that after, 10 years of marriage or whatever.
Do some gentle kisses and maybe a whisper in the ear and say, you look so beautiful tonight. The dress you're wearing just lit me up from the inside out, and I would love to see what you look like naked. Just things like that. Just get creative, have fun with that. How do you feel about that? Is there a part of you that wants to see me naked too? Just have fun with it. Playing with the words, playing with making it fun instead of, hey, let's go. Commercial, let's go do this.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Chad, what were you going to say about this as an answer, either to the man or the woman that asked this question?
I'd say in addition to what Tara shared there, you're making love before you're making love. Mm-hmm. So being present with each other and appreciating and paying deep attention to the subtleties of each other. So whatever is going on, if the person's licking their lips, if they're playing with their hair, if a gentle caress, how does that move throughout the entire body? What is the entire body doing when you just get close? Because you can feel like you're not close and by your mouth and that's it. There's things going on all the way down to the toes. make those toes curl, like they say. And, so it's really presence, appreciation, and also treating every moment is this new, because it is. So just because you had an amazing lovemaking session before where you did this position and that position and whatever, doesn't mean that's what it is today, or even during the same session. And so allow that energy to play and move and guide, and just surrender, which by surrender, I mean relax into the moment and let that energy move you how it's going to. And then there's really no distinction between foreplay and sex in a certain realm.
I really love that piece about, like you said, even if this worked really great the last time, this is a new moment. You can't step in the same river twice, kind of thing. And I hadn't really thought about that before, but that's great advice. I really like that piece.
Thank you.
I wanted to say that Devante's goddess is on in the comments, just saying greetings, gods and goddesses, and she's given us some yellow hearts and some yeses. So thank you for your support. All right, anybody have anything else to say about that question? Devante, go ahead.
So it's all about love and understanding. And the more you can understand your partner, the more you can love them in the way that they desire to be loved. So I recommend the person that you're going to be super intimate with, that you get to know, once again, their astrology, you get to know all the details behind the scenes, because the moon sign controls how they are emotionally satisfied. So if this person has a Gemini moon, they might want to read a book. That might be foreplay, because they like to be mentally stimulated. If this person is, more like a Taurus moon, they like to be touched and held and things like that. So learning these little aspects will help you in your foreplay, so you can warm up before, and you can already know if this person is stimulated and whether they want to go to the next thing. Also, I believe in not having spontaneous sex. I believe planning sex, because anything important, we put it on a calendar. So I believe when we just spontaneously have sex, it loses its sacredness. It's like, yeah, okay, we're aroused, let's just do something. But when you plan it, it actually gives you time to build up. Foreplay starts, it start days before, because on Friday at such and such is when we're actually going to engage in the act. So before that, there's kind of like this buildup of anticipation, this buildup of energy. And then you guys, once again, you do the whole tantric process, you do the whole, meditating before, making everything so sacred. So by the time you guys engage in it, everybody knows the intention. When nobody doesn't have the clear intention in their mind, they're guessing are we going to have sex or are we not? Are we ready or are we not? It's because they haven't both prepared. They haven't both set the intention to have sex. It's just, maybe I'm in the mood or you're not in the mood. How do I know how you're in the mood or not? But if you clearly voice when we're going to have sex at this particular time, then there's no confusion. So that's
no boners getting pushed into you randomly when you're waking up. Hopefully. I mean, that's not a bad thing. I was thinking that's not such a bad thing. It's your partner, but yeah, I could see it if it's relentless. But yeah, that's an interesting thought, because some people say don't plan sex, right? And so now I'm scanning my experiences, and I'm like, gosh, I've had good experiences with both planning or not planning. So I think I'll keep to my hybrid diet, but I love that element of making it sacred, because I'm very big on that with even my meals, and I keep my meals sacred. I try to do everything as sacred as possible, because I get more enjoyment out of it. And I know I've done some sex coaching with Tara, who's amazing, by the way, and even her leading me and my partner through some breathing exercises beforehand, just a few minutes beforehand, makes such a big difference in the actual energy transmitted, right, between the two people. So I love that idea. And Shofar, you wanted to say something too. I saw your hand go up.
Thank you, sir. I didn't know if you saw it. That's a good eye.
Yeah, and you guys, if your background is quiet, you don't have to mute yourselves. I think the audio is pretty good.
Oh my gosh, I comment so much when people talk.
Oh.
You can't even.
That's why you're like,
Like,
I'm
You do that with movies and stuff too.
yeah.
Yeah.
For those people.
Don't.
Yeah. That's true. That is, Kirti is a noisemaker. That's true. Yeah.
Well, Natasha, it was just really kind of ditto to what you were saying about the hybrid. I love like what Tara and Chad were saying is kind of like the flow part or aspect of ourselves, and I love what Devontae was saying. It's like the structure part, and really so what I would say that the elephant in the room, like the picture in the background of Chad, is who has the structure, who has the flow. It is your divine nature. You are a divine being. And so the word know has now in it. And if we know who we are, we will know what needs to be done. Do we need to schedule? Do we need to flow? Are we going to be hybrid? So and asking the question is a beautiful question, and just know who you are and know that you don't do sex. You are sex. Right now, your body is having sex. The hydrogen is connecting with the oxygen and the carbon dioxide, and they're doing all these things. And that's just at an atomic level. That's not including at a molecular level, and then up from that, a cellular level. Like you are sex.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Anyone else? Anything you want to add to that question? I can't help but want to ask Devontae a little bit more about the moon signs. Of course, you said the moon sign is how that person is emotionally turned on. Is that what you had said?
Yes. So the sun sign is what we want, what we, consciously desire. But what we want is not always what we need. So the moon sign determines what we need to be emotionally satisfied. And you know that sex is just building up this emotional roller coaster until it turns into a climax. So this really, that's what it teaches you, how to emotionally satisfy this person.
So my partner and I are both water moon signs. I'm Cancer moon, he's Scorpio moon. So that should be pretty compatible that way then. There'd be like a common understanding of that emotional satisfaction.
Yes.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. All right. Well, learned something. I learned so much on this show. It's been so fun to do this show because of it. Okay, and then we've got Lonnie Williams saying, so many affirmations in my recent thought process in this heart, personal growth. Thank you. That's awesome.
Hey, Lonnie.
Yeah. Okay. Next question. Are we ready? We ready to move on? The next one is a little bit deep. So let's all take a breath. Get grounded and present. Everybody at home, take a nice deep breath. I think this might resonate for a lot of people. It's again, two different questions that are essentially the same question. So the first one, a woman in her 40s says, what do you do after you've been terribly shamed for your sexual lifestyle? And it makes you relate future sexual encounters to that feeling, and you stop seeing yourself as a sexual being. So that's one version of the question. Okay, so meditate on that for a minute. Here's a woman in her 30s. She goes into more detail. She said, I'm really working at unblocking religious shame growing up from very conservative Christian. In my 20s, I had an accountability partner for every time I masturbated. We had to confess it to each other. I was also exiled from my community at a ministry school when I told my leader I made out with my friend, who later became my ex-husband. They said I couldn't stay in the school because I was making poor decisions and I wasn't ready to learn to be a leader. Now, post-divorce, I had a sexual awakening, but I still feel blocked from allowing myself to feel pleasure. I noticed I dissociate from my body the more turned on I get alone and with a partner. It took me 4 months to orgasm with my ex-boyfriend because I was so in my head. What suggestions do you have to heal the shame around sexuality that is deeply programmed? And I want to say to both of the women who sent this question, I know I talked to you already personally, but thank you for being so open and honest. And this is such a vulnerable area and such a painful area. And, it's trauma, the big T trauma coming up. That's a huge, huge piece. And when it hits your, it's a type of sexual abuse, in my opinion. And when it hits that chord, it's like a deep root. It has so many branches and it hits so many different areas of your life. And I know when I was talking to my lash artist about this today, when I do hypnosis, it's going to that deep root, and then all these other little branches can heal, right? Because it touches our lives in so many ways. And it's not just one session that's going to do it. It's almost like a lifetime of unworking and relearning this. So I'm really curious what y'all have to say about this one. I know we have some traditional, Chad's got training in marriage and family therapy, and he's soon to be doctor of psychology. And then we've got, more non-traditional, like, Tara was saying, she left that sex therapy field because she wanted a more expansive teaching, very knowledgeable about the abuse, trauma, healing sexuality. Same with Kirti and Shofar. Yeah. So whoever wants to jump in.
I'd say if one thing that came up for it is, and I don't want to speak too long, I'd like to open the floor for everybody on this, but like just recognizing where your energy is going like that, where the one woman had said, I immediately go to my head and I can't feel pleasure. I'd say celebrate that. Celebrate that you have that kind of awareness and presence with yourself first, to recognize that's where your energy is and that's not where you want your energy to be. And then just breathe into that and take your time, and don't make it a goal. Like, oh, I have to finish, I have to orgasm, I have to let my partner know that I enjoyed it. Or even if you're just with yourself, that you have to enjoy it. Just every touch is orgasmic. Like Shofar had mentioned earlier, we are sex, our bodies are having sex right now. And through that is orgasm and pleasure and bliss when we really take the time to melt into it. And there's a lot of things that you've both been through, and I'm very, very, very sorry to hear that, because it's bullshit, to be honest with you. Back in the old days, exile was associated with the death sentence. And so for people to so callously shame you and do that, that's on them. And I'm very sorry that it had to fall on you. But I would really just suggest getting comfortable, being uncomfortable. And how long can you stay there? And the longer you can stay there, the more you'll melt into that, and the more you'll find that peace and that bliss that resides underneath it. I'd like to, I don't want to talk for a lot longer on that. I'd like to hear everybody else.
It's like you're giving yourself permission to be there. I really like that. I know I had, after, of course, showing empathy, I joked to one of the women, gosh, I need a masturbation accountability partner now just to make sure I do it. Because otherwise I'm going to be like, I don't have time. I can't do that. So if we're to learn our body and how it works, like, of course we have to learn our body, right?
I'd like to throw one more thing on you too.
Yeah.
With that, allowing the sounds. If there, whatever that sound is coming up when you go to your head, for example, and you just know that's not where you want to be, fucking roar and let that out. If you need to do it into a pillow, a towel, whatever, your partner's neck, just let those sounds out. And warn the neighbors ahead of time, take down your picture frames off the walls, but just really give yourself permission to allow your sounds, because your sound is where your bliss is as well. So let that come out, give that permission, give that freedom. And also one final thing on it is, it comes out in many different ways. So if you feel like crying, allow yourself to cry. If you feel like screaming, allow yourself to scream. Whatever comes out is the perfect thing for the moment. And once that's out, there's plenty of room for the rest of the good stuff.
Yeah.
I apologize, good, bad, but you feel what I'm saying on that.
Yeah, it is that you use the word melt, and I feel like sounding out or screaming or whatever, it's getting that energy moving, that emotion moving. It is the process of thawing out the body, because whether it's abuse because you've been touched when you didn't want to be touched, or abuse because you're shamed or from an outside organization or person, it's still numbing the body. It's the body's like, oh, I'm not supposed to feel good. I'm not supposed to feel anything. And I know for me, just having sexual abuse history, it took many years to numb out, to unthaw certain parts of my body. And so I'm still in my process of yelling more, of sounding out more, of using more sound just in general in life, moving my body. I want to give Kirti a shout out because her class is amazing for that, you know. And I hadn't gone in a couple of weeks because I've been busy, and I went back. Of course, it was cold and a little bit rainy, but I could tell like my body just wasn't used to moving anymore. And I'm like, I don't like this. I somehow have gotten stuck into, you know, just the day-to-day thing. So I love that. I love that reflection. Thank you.
Welcome. Thank you.
Anyone else? Well, I'm going to change my light. My light went out, so I'm going to flip-flop lights while you're answering your question. But who's next? Who would like to say something?
I'll say.
Yeah? Okay, you're on.
Okay, so if I understand the question correctly, there's it took her, she said, 4 months to orgasm, correct?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. To be comfortable enough to orgasm with her boyfriend. Yeah.
Okay. So anytime there's you know, difficulty orgasming, it's because there's a blockage in the sacral chakra. There's a blockage to surrendering to pleasure. There's a blockage to surrendering to your sexuality. This usually results from negative mental views about sex, period. So there's either guilt, once again, or shame connected to the sexual energy on a very deep subconscious level. So the mind won't allow the body to experience its full pleasure because it feels guilty about feeling good. So there has to be a whole subconscious mental reprogramming to allow her to see that this pleasure is good, and so that she can relax in it. Because in order for us to reach the sacral chakra of pleasure, we first have to feel safe, which is the root chakra. So right now she doesn't feel safe enough in her sexuality to allow her to reach higher states of pleasure. So I do recommend clearing the headspace before engaging in any sexual activity. That'll definitely give her a great head start, because a lot of people have a lot of mental chatter in the background. And then when they engage in sex, it's just heightened. It's always been there. It's just now that the sexual energy is stirred, you're more aware of what's always been there, and you're trying to shut it out. So we have to really reprogram how we view sex, reprogram how we feel about sex and sexual energy. And this, once again, this is a lifetime of reprogramming, because one has been programmed probably for 20, 30 plus years. So it's not going to happen overnight. But with the conscious intention and the will to do so, you will meet people, you will engage in topics like this, and your path will become more pleasurable. So I would say continue seeking, continue joining conversations like this, continue the work, because you're not alone.
So important. I'm so glad that you brought up the safety piece, because that's huge. And that's a big part of why, you know, I even started this show, is to talk about it, to get people comfortable talking about that. And then the year that I started it is we have more censorship going on this year than anything. And now, you know, people even on Instagram are having to disguise the word sex, or, you know, write it differently. And I'm like, this is a clinical term. It's like the most basic clinical term there is that creates human life. Why is it censored? Like, I don't understand. And so I was just commenting to one of the other sex educators on on her profile, who had to edit the word. I'm like, I think I'm just gonna start saying, like, just to be silly, like making whoopee, like they did in the 70s game shows, just so you realize like how ridiculous it is. Like if we had to say that for everything, and it's not safe, especially as a woman. And as I'm saying this, I want everybody who's watching live to look at the comments, because we have a commenter on there that is just a total harasser. And I haven't had that happen before. on the show. So it's interesting that it happened in the season finale with all these powerful people here, gods and goddesses on my panel. We attracted a sexual harasser that wanted to throw in a couple punches or whatever. And it's nothing. He's just on here acting like he knows us, and he's saying that he met me on a site somewhere or whatever. Yeah, I don't know who this person is, but regardless, it's interesting because those folks like that just come up out of nowhere that make it unsafe, right? For women in particular, to talk so openly and vulnerably and to be sexual, or to even have skin exposed, or to have their breasts, like the form of their breasts showing, or, these sorts of things. And it's until we change the culture too. So it's this, I hear what you're saying, the subconscious thing about feeling safe in the root chakra. That's half of the work, but the other half of the work is the culture needs to change too. And so how are we constantly engaging in changing our own, creating our own safety, but then also contributing so that we're changing the culture? And I know Tara and I met in a women's program where it was a very safe space. It was so safe that I look back to that now longingly. It was a no shame zone. There was not a smidgen, a morsel anywhere of shame of any type. And I was like, this is like Disneyland. Like, this is my kind of Disneyland. And I did not realize how much shame I already was wearing. I had a shame cloak on. I was not aware of until I got into a place where there was no shame, and it could just melt off of me. And I look back to that time fondly, because I do see that time where my senses were heightened. My arousal was heightened. All of these things, my magic was heightened. I was magnetic. All of these great things were coming to me in my life because I was in this community of no shame, where I could just be who I was, and I can let my body be what it is. And so I love that safety piece. So important.
I'd really love to chime in on that too. Yeah. For the troller on there, thank you for being here. Thank you for this subject is so deeply triggering for you, and that you're being invited to look deeper into yourself and to heal what's really triggering you, number one. So thank you for showing all of us that. And or it could just be a teenager who has nothing better to do. So if that's the case too, I'm glad you're entertained. Thank you.
Yeah.
This is one of the things I really work with women around, actually, is this. I actually have, the reason why I kept looking behind me while you're talking is because I do have 3 books in my possession right now. I'm more on my Kindle. So if it's okay, I might actually give you some resources to post on the comments after the fact. Mm-hmm. One of them is actually called Healing Sex, and it's actually how to heal your body from sex through trauma,
Oh, I can.
Yeah, and I actually have 3 books I can recommend too around sexuality and healing from shame and damage from organized religion as well. So coming back from that, those are all things that I studied in my school. But number one, to both of you that are 30 and 40, I really want to celebrate that in 4 months' time that you were able to finally feel safe enough and to let down your inhibitors enough to orgasm. So that is huge. That's a huge brag. It's a huge celebration. In our culture, we talk about a lot of the mind. We talk about learning just let go. But for one of the things that I teach is embodiment work, because for women especially, men have it as much, but not at the level that we have it. We, as women, experience this from the time we're little girls, where people think they can come up and touch our hair, touch our face, or grab us, and what a cute little girl you are, how pretty you are. So there's this constant touching of no consent from us kind of behavior, like you said, the culture. The other thing is I had experience with that. My parents raised me to be, they're from San Francisco in the 60s. So, they're like, sex is beautiful, your body's beautiful. They walked around the house naked, it's no big deal. Then I went to church on my own, and I was deeply shamed by the church people for being this free spirit and how dirty and horrible I was. Luckily, I had these loving, supportive parents who were just like out. They don't know what they're talking about. You are this beautiful witchy self. You be who you be. And they were really much more powerful than that. But I still had damage from that. And we all kind of do at some level, especially for women. But for those who have deep, there's a difference between shame and guilt, by So this is something that's really important to understand as you start working through embodiment work. And shame is the emotion that when is activated for many people, not to say all, but for many people, it is an emotion that you can't just recognize and self-correct, because it's not from you misbehaving or having this behavior that's not acceptable, right? So you can't self-correct and change it. This is something that's just made that who you are in your very essence is wrong. And there's nothing you can do about it. So then we begin to systematically shut down deeper than even in our whole system. It becomes like this muscle memory. Guilt is then a different emotion that we did something that we were taught was wrong. We did it anyway. Now we're going to learn to adapt our behavior, either by correcting it if it's something we know is deeply wrong, or start to hide it, become under the table, masturbate when everyone's asleep, play, so doing all these things that then nobody better find, but I got to do this because it feels so good. And I know it can't be that wrong if it feels this good. But for women especially, where we begin the healing process, where I work with women specifically, is how to teach them how to come back safely into their body by learning. So many women disassociate, they leave their bodies, they check up into their heads and beyond so that they don't have to be connected from here down. And so one of the things that I teach is gentle breath work that can become more intensive work. Felt sense is becoming aware of the feelings and sensations in your body before we even touch sexuality. Sometimes we're 12 sessions in before we even touch on the subject of sex, because there has to be this gentle layer of all these little personalities too that you've developed over your time that then hide your real personality to bring this other personality out that is acceptable to others, that then becomes this shadow personality that now people, it's over the top, it's extreme. So now people don't like it either. So now what do you do? So now you create another one. So we have all these layers of these personalities that we put in our body and we hold in our body in all these different parts to try and conform to everybody. And this is especially true in sexuality. So for both of these women who ask these questions, it's so much deeper, and I have great resources on healing from religion and in organized religion, on spirituality, but even in some spiritual groups, there is a lot of shaming and damage done in women's sexuality and men's sexuality. Is learning how to connect to the body first. And we learn when safe things, learning how to shake. That's the number one. When we're holding trauma in our bodies, we don't know how to release the charge. And a trauma is nothing, most people see trauma as you had this huge car accident, or you saw this big event, or you're kidnapped. It's not. It's how your individual body holds and reacts to any situation that you felt was unsafe for you at that moment. It could have been even just one word that set you off, and then your body holds the charge and now becomes trauma. Another great book is The Body Keeps the Score. This explains clinically what happens to your body when you experience trauma and how then you will relive that like it's a real experience over and over again. So having all those understandings of just, number one, being gentle and love, and just forgive yourself every day. Just say outside, I forgive myself for all these things, because I know that this is here. And like Chad said, number one is just congratulations and celebrate. You're at least aware that it's there. You're so aware that it's happening. That's huge. That's number one step. How do you get from here back to here, back all the way down to here to your whole body? How do you reconnect? And some simple things is learning how to do what's called a connected breath, where you breathe in and out of your mouth and direct that energy down into your, maybe at first, your belly, not even into your yoni or pussy, because maybe that's too intensive for your body. So learning how to just bring it into your heart and then bring it down into your belly. And the other thing is learning how to kind of shake and let that trauma discharge. You don't even have to go into the story of what that trauma was. Just understand there's trauma in your body, and you can begin by shaking, and you just start shaking your whole body, and then you can start sounding it out, and you can feel it's really silly, but it starts to work. Practicing kicking out loud and saying no. So just empowering your body to know that it can be safe and that you're back in control. So there's a lot of really great deep embodiment practices that can be done to start to open up and unravel this deep core beliefs, these deep woundings that have been stored so deep, you don't even know what they are. You just know that you have this now inhibitor in your mind that stops you from even enjoying it, because it's been stored. It's so deep. It's like it's deep in your body. And so one of the things I really recommend is starting to play with finding maybe someone who teaches breath work, study what trauma does to your body, work with embodiment practices as anyone, men and women, because men too are a lot of them are very shut off to their body. There's a lot that they're just not connected either. We've been taught to ignore the body, right? If you work 60 hours, you're celebrated, but if you work 20 and make just as much, you're not celebrated, you're lazy. So it's the same kind of thing with your body. You as a man can be super sexual, not all, but many. You can be sexual and it's like a high five. For a woman, it's like, what a slut. So there's this duality, like you said, in the culture, but then that creates this trauma and this charge that we hold in our body. So that's one of the ways that I start to help women heal even from toxicity is how to start breathing through that and start to move through and start to slowly release and come back into body. How do you do that? How do you connect back in? Even just breathing gently and saying, wow, I feel this tingle in my left toe. There's like an itchiness in my right knee. Oh, there's like a pokey feeling and this sparkly feeling in my gut. So learning how to reconnect back into just your sensations in a safe environment starts the process. Just doing something simple like that and learning how to create what's called felt sense, where you learn how to feel your body again, begins the process of healing.
It reminds me a lot of what I've heard you say, Shofar, on the show before, which is men are walking around with numb cocks, and that
Dumb boners.
boners, yeah, numb boners. Yeah, and so I mean, I think about that, and then also I'm thinking about that aspect. You know, we talk about religious shaming, cultural shaming, but also one of the women I think that wrote in this question was talking about her alternative lifestyle and being, you know, polyamorous or bisexual, and then the shame that comes from that, and then that actually shutting down her sexual ability in future relationships. So, or sometimes women are shamed for being overly sexual if they have a high sexual response. So I don't know, Kirti and Cho, if you want to say anything about that, because I know one of your mentors who I follow on Instagram, who's very dynamic and interesting, is in a polyamorous marriage. And I saw she just posted today that they added a new wife. One of her husbands married another woman. So so now he's committed to her and another woman. And she's like, well done, because I feel like if my husband is dating a woman, then he should commit to that woman that he's dating. And I was like, that's a great perspective, actually.
Yeah, take care of her.
So what about when the culture shames folks because of their sexuality or their lifestyle?
You know, the first thing whenever I hear, I like how Devante brought it to, you know, the sacral chakra. I do think that a lot of times we go right to sex, like genitals. And especially when we've had experiences with our genitals, right? I'm like, where do I even really begin with this? I'll get it this way, let me go to Kundalini, because we said sacral. So, you know, Kundalini is not about sex, it's about creativity. And the seed of creativity is the inner child. So what we first would want to reclaim is creativity and expression. You know, the sex piece will come. It'll come. The genitals, the squirting, I don't know how many levels of orgasm there are now. But I know that it'll all come. Whatever you want will come as soon as you work with that little girl and make her feel safe to express her creativity. See, this cultural religious bullshit, let's just fucking call it what it is. This religious and cultural bullshit that we are doing to the women around the world right now, the patriarchy.
Well, and can you say a little bit about your background too, because your cultural background, because I know that Sarah mentioned how her upbringing, and I know your upbringing also informs your work and your authority on what you're saying right now too.
Yeah, definitely. I'm born first generation South Asian woman. Both of my parents are from India. Had an arranged marriage. Definitely was raised very cultural at home, and I was very American on my own. That's nothing needed there. I was, you know, born and raised here in America, born in Chicago, moved to Santee, which is a very interesting narrow-minded white neighborhood. It was like the only Indian kid growing up. And then moved to Brooklyn. And from Brooklyn, came back down to San Diego. So I've had this very American experience of expression and creativity. I've been an artist my whole life. So that coupled, but being born into a culture that is like, it's a hobby. It makes you marriageable. Like, you look great on stage, but don't talk about politics when you get off stage. And I was raised a classical Indian dancer, so I was very much schooled on the whole Hindu philosophy. And, and it's really, we talk about this. It's a tough pill for me to swallow because India is really cool. The culture is really cool. Everybody wants to talk about chakras and yoga and tantra. And it's like, come to my side of the fence, bitches. Fools, you want to see how cool India is? Come to this side.
No wonder you like to dwell in the shadow. You're like, I got lots of it to illuminate.
I remember I told my girlfriend one time, she was like, you're so lucky. The clothes are so beautiful, and the jewelry and the henna and the makeup and the bindis and the saris and the culture is just so colorful, and the food and I was like, all of that makes people talk to me in slow English. I don't know. I just have a different experience. So this is my piece, right? Like the sex, whatever we've been programmed is sex, that's a story. You, the creator, the motherfucking original seed of creation on this planet, the sprout of orgasmicness that came through soil, that is all about the inner child and creativity, beauties. So we are rushed as adult women to think that our value is based on our sex. That is the wrong code to follow. Our true abundance comes from our creativity. Our true sensuality comes from the activation of the senses. And from there, we get to just be whatever the fuck we want to be. And that means to be unfuckwithable. So when my culture tells me I'm too loud, I shouldn't bang on a drum, you better believe I'm going to fucking yell and bang on a motherfucking drum. I might just cut down my own tree and howl that motherfucker out, and I will find some raw hide. And you best believe it might be the hide of a real ignorant preacher. Out of the temple that collects a whole bunch of donations from all the people that come to the temple to pray to these Indian Hindu gods and goddesses and donate thousands of dollars while we have poor people on the streets begging for food right outside those temple gates. While they look at young girls walking through those gates, young goddesses, they say. And something in my heart just twists at that. So when you feel threatened by the norm, when you feel threatened by the cultural paradigm and religion, I say, fuck yes! Kali is here. That tells me I'm on the right side of the team. When I start feeling threatened, oh, I'm not getting enough clients, I'm not sellable. I'm like, because I'm an artist. I'm an artist. Y'all don't know yet. That's cool. I'm going to keep doing me, and you keep doing you, and when our quads pass, they'll cross. So when you feel threatened and shamed and guilted by religion and cultural paradigm, this is a beauty. This is a calling. We are waiting for you. Your tribe, we're sending our signal out, and you're hearing us because you're like, wait a minute. Should I feel guilty about being so loving that I don't see a difference between men and women? Should I feel guilty about that? Wait a minute. Should I feel guilty that it feels good to not wear a bra most days? Should I feel guilty? Should I feel guilty that I've had sex with multiple people before I was married? Should I feel guilty that I'm praying and I'm on my period? Should I feel guilty? Yeah, shoulda, woulda, coulda. Fuck. I mean, that's just way. All of that is an invitation. We are waiting for you, the sisterhood of the originals, the re-wild women that want you to let your hair down, take off your bra, burn your heels. Not the cutest of the cutest, but the ones that you keeping around, but you never really take them out on the town. Burn them, and start to earth, get your feet on the ground, and remember your body is an exotic island. And before you allow another tourist or traveler to arrive, they better have a real purposeful passport. Because both of these women sounds like they have partners. It is just as much your partner's responsibility, your healing in the bedroom, as it is yours. So do the work to see, who are you calling in right now? Who is your pussy magnetizing? Because if you're in a wounded pussy place, you might be magnetizing someone who's willing to give more into that wounded pussy. So if you're ready to sexually heal, do the inner alignment work so that you can start to beam in the partner that's going to hold space for you, so you can get in a nice, big, sexy cocoon. You can unwind, you can do all the stuff, the shaking, the yelling, the cursing, the punching, and your partner's just like, I got you, baby. Let me have it. Let me have it. Then you're going to get real orgasm.
Now that's sexy. I was going to say, I'm just getting turned on listening to that little bit.
I'm so excited for these women that are willing to share, because the fact that they're even speaking it, vagina, vocal cord, vagus nerve, bring it on. That means their bodies are already preparing, like, oh, I'm ready for a real partner. I'm ready for a real partner. That's what I say. It's time to witch up, ladies. Witch up. Witch up. Open up your legs. Do some breath work. And just call in the mate that you desire. And really, first and foremost, call the mate in yourself. Because everything you're expecting from a man, please, please, please try to do that for yourself first.
Yeah.
Yes.
And plug back to our Tantra and Tulum episode too, with Kirti and Shafar, and Chad was there while we were in Tulum. And then we did the after show after Tulum. We were talking about that. And then Kirti and I did an episode calling in your king. And interestingly enough, that's what happened to me. We were working on a lot of this stuff. I mean, it's been a long journey, but also Kirti had said to me in Tulum, your king is coming. I feel it. And sure enough, he was right at my front door 3 weeks later. I didn't have to go anywhere. So yeah, I second that. And your question actually segues into the other question. But I think, Tara, you wanted to say something real quick. Did you have something?
Oh, I just feel like I went to Pussy Church, so Pussy-luya. Yes.
Yeah. Pussy.
I would say shame and guilt, like what's gorgeous about shame and guilt, what's so juicy about shame and guilt, what makes me want to get into bed with shame and guilt is that it's going to show me what my next step of liberation is. It's my next fucking ticket of my rites of passage to reclaim my rights for all the women. Not just the women, the men who were hurt, who did this to women, because we know hurt people hurt people. So that's the other thing. That anger, I don't know where these women are in the process, so I'm feel so wary of offering what specific things, because sometimes it's too soon, to get to a place of like, we ultimately create everything to realize our purpose in this life. So I don't doubt we have some really special sexually empowered women who are tuning into you, Natasha, and ready for that guidance, on that pussy journey.
Yeah, and that reminds me of, a good disclaimer is that this isn't medical advice. This isn't, don't go quitting your job or doing whatever, or breaking up with your partners because of this information, because we can't give you guidance if we don't know your full story and we don't know all the little elements. But this is just meant for informational purposes, to give you a different perspective, multiple perspectives about these issues that it sounds like a lot of people are wondering about. And there were a few brave people who wrote in these questions, and a couple of them I asked, do you want me to edit some of the details? Or like, no, put all the details in there. And I was like, thank you for being raw and brave, because that makes the question more powerful, and people can really feel you and then see themselves also in your question. And I feel like some of these are more common than not. And I've heard several of you speak now about just going into the stuckness, going into the feeling, facing it. I'm just hearing this fearlessness. It's like bringing in this fearlessness, and of course we've got a couple Aries, Scorpio. Devante, what are you? What's your sign?
Aries, double Aries.
Oh, you're double Aries. Look at this. It's Shofar's an Aries, Chad's an Aries. We got Devante double Aries. I got Venus in
Aries top.
No wonder.
I have my ascendant is Aries.
Your ascendant is Aries, and then I think you're on the Libra, Aries, North Node, South Node teeter-totter like I am as well, and Shofar is, I think. And then Tara's, she's got a triple Scorpio over there, I think.
Oh,
right?
wow. Sexy.
She said her
My astrology math read, and 12 of my houses were all in sex, sexuality, sexual education, sexual healing, sex. Yeah, it was like she would just like, and the next sex again. Just different kind of sex. So it's like, yeah, I'm on the right path. Yeah, and I just want to chime in, like everyone's answers were so beautiful. And not only that, but every one of them are right, because every person has their own journey. So whatever resonated with you is what's going to work for you. You know, if Chad resonated with you, then that's what you need right now. If Devante resonated with you, that's what you need right now. If Kirti resonated with you, that's what you need right now. So take away whatever you're hearing and dive deeper into that. Allow yourself to play with whatever connected to you tonight, and know that that was what was speaking to your body and your wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. I also wanted to share a comment by Lonnie. It was a while back after Tara was speaking. She said, I love what Tara touched on about layers of personality and handling past trauma. And I put also a couple books in the comments, Tara. I put the Healing Sex book. I think, did you say it was called Healing Sex? The book?
Yes, Healing Sex.
Okay, good. I put that on there, and then I put your website in there if people wanted to get some more books. And then I put The Body Keeps the Score by Bessel van der Kolk. I hope I spelled van der Kolk right, because I have the book.
Yeah, and I'll compile a list that you can add to the comments later of some great, so because just information. And that's the other thing, like Kirti's saying, like you feel all this and it's all information gathering. It's not a make wrong or make right. It's information gathering.
Yeah.
It's literally you gathering this new information in your body and saying, yeah, this fucking doesn't work anymore. I'm tired of feeling like this. And I know it's not true.
Mm-hmm.
And my goddess in me is starting to like break free.
Mm-hmm.
And she needs to be satisfied in so many levels. The genitals is one tiny grain of sexuality.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, I feel like as adults, we make it all about the genitals because that's the only way we've remembered how to play anymore.
Yeah. Instead, actually, I have a client. We took sex off the table for the last 23 days. There's been no sex. There's only been eye gazing and just deep kissing, and that's totally shifted the dynamic.
That's beautiful.
Love it. It's fun to play. It's fun to play that way. You know, it's fun. It's fun to try new things. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, here's our last question, and this worked out pretty well. Like I said, what Kirti had to say last was a nice segue about the inner child and attracting the kind of partner and relationship you're going to attract. This is from a woman in her late 40s. She said, I've noticed that in the past year, I am naturally moving towards a more grounded and process-oriented attitude towards relationships in general. I'm not necessarily looking for a nesting partner, though I deeply desire depth and commitment. I'd love to hear comments on that being a shift, possibly due to my age, I'm 49, and life circumstances, single mother of a teenager. Any thoughts?
I'm right there with you, sister. I'm turning 47 this year, and yeah, I so love my own company, and I do. I love the partners that come into my life, and I love the deepness that I can go. And I'm also okay with it not looking like that traditional anymore. I'm so grounded in myself and in my space, and isn't it beautiful? Like if you're turning 49, you feel like, isn't that beautiful that you don't really need someone anymore? You just have this desire of, it'd be nice to share my space with someone who actually brings up the best in me.
Mm-hmm.
And even so, it doesn't have to look like society says. It can look whatever way we want to.
Mm-hmm.
And since I created that space for myself with doing all of my deep work, the people who enter my life are just beautiful. And sometimes it's a 1 week long gift of this deep intimacy, and then it's gone and it's beautiful. And it's like, thank you. Sometimes it's longer. Sometimes it's for a few. It doesn't matter. It's just this energy exchange now of knowing deeply who I am, and also where I'm at. And for me personally, I don't have the capacity to have someone live with me right now. I'm in the middle of building my business, and I really love focusing on myself. And I just got a beautiful beautiful waterproof fuzzy blanket from Australia for squirting that I can play with just with me. And I have all my toys just when they're laid out beautifully in my bedroom because I don't have to hide them from anyone. And so it's just that it's a freedom, and it is uncomfortable because society says you're supposed to have this look this way, and all suddenly you realize you don't want this anymore. You want something else, and what is it? So play with that. So yeah, just want to celebrate that she's there and play with that, and know that when you meet someone who feels like they resonate with you on this deep soul level, then you'll know. In the meantime, it's like being with yourself is great company. I love me. I love dancing around making. What? Oops, the curtains are open. Oh well. Welcome to Mexico.
Yeah. And it's beautiful. It really is beautiful. And what struck me when I was listening to your answer is that I'm aware of and I've experienced, when you're a deep person, you can have deep experiences, deep relationships, even if they're weak, even if, it's a moment, kind of what Chad is saying, like every moment is a new moment. So it's a new experience, a new person. Even when you meet the person that you've been with for many, many years, it's like a new day. And so if she's wanting depth and commitment, I guess we need to look at what that means. How do we define commitment, right? Because commitment might be, I'm committed to being totally with you when I'm with you. It might be when I'm here with you, I am all here. I'm not looking at my phone. I'm not doing any of this. I am all about you. Or is commitment, we're going to move to a more formal arrangement. And so here I am, I have a 10-year-old and a 13-year-old. So when you're raising children, I think there's more of a push. And I know your children are grown, Tara, but like when you're raising children, I feel like there's more of a push to want that stability, right? And to want that commitment, because you're building much more than sex and love and a love affair. You're commingling finances, you're building a home, you're creating maybe even a legacy, that sort of thing. So I imagine it's going to be different for everybody, depending, as she's mentioning, life stages. But for her, she's a single mom. She's not necessarily needing somebody to live with, but she does want that stability, that commitment, that depth. I'm sure wants a good role model for her daughter, that sort of thing. Any other thoughts about what kind of relationship or what's going on? What kind of, is there a collective relationship shift going on that speaks to what she's feeling? Because I personally know this person. I know she's very intuitive as well, and she's a lot of times picking up on collective energies and whatnot. So I'm curious as to what you guys think about that, because I feel like personally, just with the whole COVID, everything that's happened with COVID, it almost seems like, and maybe Devante can even talk about this with the Age of Aquarius type stuff, but it just seems like we're moving more towards a tribal. We're going a little bit more on the tribal living side of things, where we're having to rely on small communities. And a good way to do that, I guess, is pull the financial rug out from everyone. Now you're kind of forced to. And I've lived in my apartment complex for 7 years. My partner moves in, very dynamic, and now the neighbor that I have only said hi to for 7 years, turns out he's connected to the music industry, and like this other guy is like an astrophysicist, and this guy's, and I mean, it's like every time he leaves the house, like there's a new person, and now we have this like little community here, and it's been right under my nose for 7 years, and I'm not even noticing it. And I'm thinking, is it him? Is it COVID? Regardless, it's having a loving heart and wanting to bring people into your circle and putting out that energy that brings your circle in closer to you. So what would that look like now for a woman who's done having children, wants the deep love, wants the commitment, wants the great sex that you're talking about, Tara, whether it's by herself or with a partner, and wants the intellectual stimulation, all the pleasures and joys of life, like really wants the good life, but doesn't necessarily think it's from that traditional,
It's not. I don't think it is from the traditional. It's
yeah,
not.
I don't think that's making
She's not a very
lot of
traditional person if she's
right.
a single. She's clearly not. And that's the thing, is that we have a whole bunch of spirals trying to be squares.
Yeah, there you go.
No, and we've been brainwashed by Disney and Hollywood and Bollywood and just bullshit television and porn and everything. We've just been brainwashed to think, what does support look like? What does sex and support look like? What does it, you can get, I mean, you can expect everything from one man, and if you don't get it from that man, you can shit on that man, and you can, we've, the feminist movement sometimes can move strongly astray from the feminine energy. And so I think it's very confusing, and I empathize with all mothers out there. I think that, again, this is born out of a dynamic that, I'm not going to go too political. It's very hard for me to not be political and spiritual, because I don't even know how they're anything different. But we have to look at the fabric of the country and the soil that we are on, and see how we collectively have created where we are exactly right here today. And what she's looking for in a partner, I would say those are the very same things that her feminine energy within herself, her female self, is probably seeking from the male energy and the male self within her. And so by developing that, she will actually call in the perfect mate, because the female feminine self always chooses. Doesn't matter. That's how powerful we are. And when we are female selves with pussies, oh my God, let me talk about it. So, because our portal, our yoni's wide open. Men have a nice package, a gateway that you have to go through before you go into their yoni. For us, our portal is wide open to receive from the earth. So once she is clear on the type of choice, does she want a support choice? Does she want somebody that's going to provide her, that's going to pay the bills so she could chill at home and be with her kids? Like, what do you really want? Get clear, and then see what your own masculine is calling through. And as you become more feminine for your own masculine energy, you will start to attract that perfect divine masculine match for you. Do you want to share something? I felt like you were behind me, like felt the energy.
Well, I was riding what you were saying.
Okay, cool. Tandem, you could get on my board, baby.
We'll talk about that later after the camera goes off, or maybe we'll just keep it on. Tantra and Tulum.
Zoom.
Yeah, there you go. Well, so the question I had is, so really being in the feminine, what if, you are this evolving, deeply rooted, feminine, wondrous being, and I happen to know this wondrous being, and she is very erotic and sexual and just loves and adores, she just really lives life to the fullest. And also, what if you're so good at being in your feminine that you might over nurture sometimes, or overly caretake? And because I think in our culture and on our planet, that's often exploited and expected, right? From the feminine to let me, and Atom isn't here. He was supposed to be here. We did a show on cultivating the garden, and we talked about like being a good gardener. So when you see a garden, a beautiful garden, you have to, replenish what you took, instead of just coming and eating all the juicy fruits and then taking off and leaving your trash. So that's sort of how we treat the planet. That's how our culture, if we listen to movies and music and all these things, is how we treat the feminine, right? I had to unlearn accepting being treated like that in my 20s, and into my 30s, and all of that stuff. And so that counterculture movement, I guess, that we're a part of. But there's deep roots of that,
right?
And there's something, I would even say, of a turn on with that when you identify as a very feminine woman, when you are able to cook for your whole family and nurture. And I know you love to cook and throw down in the kitchen too. You're really good at it. And so, and I also enjoy, working with food and cooking and serving my loved ones. So when does it get to be too much, and when are we falling back into that exploited or exploitable paradigm? Because I think about, we've had some discussions tonight about part of it, 50% our part, and then 50% the partners or the culture or whatever else.
Well, I don't think things are necessarily always 50-50. I mean, calling in the feminine doesn't mean you drop your masculine. We are walking unique walking combinations of Shiv Shakti. We are that feminine masculine. So falling into your feminine, your masculine is the warrior, is like, I got you, baby, go. Let loose. That's your masculine. That's not your man. Don't get it twisted. That's your man inside. That's your Shiva. That's your lingam. That's your lingam inside. Holding ground for the Shakti to be. So, you know, if you're falling into your feminine doesn't mean that you just drop all math. No, you know, the seed needs the fertile soil to grow, right? It needs that. And the trees need the breeze so you can see and feel and hear the leaves. So it's all integrated. And if we are walking around with too much feminine or masculine, that is when we get into that behavior that you're talking about. And that's where we need to look at, how is the program conditioning us to walk around imbalanced? Because the truth, I could be today actually felt like I was probably 80% masculine, 20 feminine, because we spent all day recording for our online course. Yeah. So does that mean like, oh shit, today I'm not going to get laid? No, I'm getting laid tonight.
That was your masculine speaking.
It sounded quite masculine though.
No, that's what I'm saying. So, but you want to know what the feminine is? The feminine is like, I'm so charged up. I'm so charged up from being in my power today that I'm so ready to unwind and just be like, whew, oh yeah, you know, like that's going on in me. And when I can be that in me, there's this amazing thing that happens with frequencies and vibration and waves off of our biofield, our bodies, waves of energy that my tuning fork makes its wave, and Shofar might be in the kitchen, his tuning fork is making his wave, and before he knows it, it's like, oh, okay, now we're both like forks in the room making a beat. You know what I'm saying? We're like, okay, this is interesting. Where are we at? So, yeah, I think that this is big work that has to be done on the planet around the masculine and the feminine, and then understanding the conditioning that we have. I mean, and like I said, you know, I don't know if it's the Western culture, the fast food attitude that we've got going on here, but I'm a product of it as well. And I think that it's time for us to have more conversations like this, to give space, because clearly the women who are writing in aren't seeing enough of our side of things. There's still an imbalance of what is being put out there and what is really being done on the ground level. And so yeah, what I'm curious, because I feel like Devante, you've been wanting to say something for a while about the feminine piece, and I was curious to hear from the men about this whole conversation about the feminine masculine, and because I feel like this comes up with us, Natasha, all the time, where it's like, oh, well, like a really powerful woman all of a sudden, you know? So what is y'all's take on this whole conversation, a woman in her feminine and masculine? Yeah.
And real quick, Atom is watching. I didn't realize he had to take the last minute because he got food poisoning. He was in Mexico last week and he got food poisoning. And so anyway, he's still watching. He said, hear and appreciating. Breathe, move the awareness, observe the senses. It shall expand beyond comprehension in all areas of one's life. So he's still piping in
nice
with the group. So thanks for being there, Tom. So Devante, what are you thinking? Or Chad, whoever wants to start.
Good.
I want to bring it back to the original question about commitment and debt before I expand further. So like you said, the astrological age that we're in, the age of Aquarius, with all the information out there now, before you maybe had to go to a library, you had to witness with your eyes, and many people probably haven't witnessed these untraditional situations in which we have now. So now that people have access to the internet, and since we're all connected to this one field, every thought is connected to the next thought, we all come from the source. As one person raises consciously and it affects the collective. So by us, you know, standing in our power and upgrading our, you know, our information, our mindset, our frequency, other people's frequency get activated. So now more people are aware that they can have relationships with more depth and more commitment. Now, I am Scorpio North Node, so my path is, sexual transformation and liberation as well, like Tara, her full 3 Scorpio placements. But yeah, so when we come to understand that just by me activating myself, that it's activating other people. Because I know for me, in my earlier years, I'm 25 now. In my earlier years, I didn't care too much about depth and commitment. But as my consciousness grew and I was aware that there's something deeper, as I investigated and researched, I desired that something deeper. And her, you say she's a single mom, correct? She's realized that, and I would assume she's realized that the traditional relationships or the shallow relationships that lack depth wasn't working for her. So we naturally require something better once we learn about something better. So now she's saying, I'm worth more than just shallowness. I'm worth more than a man who's not committed. So naturally seeking a higher vibrational man, a higher vibration of your desire, means that you are evolving. So you are evolving with the planet, with everybody else's collective consciousness. So that's really what that's symbolizing at a whole.
I love that.
About the feminine and masculine, I do agree with the whole topic you're saying. Once you drop once you get more into your feminine, you don't completely drop the masculine. He may be 70% masculine, you may be 30% feminine. It's only when you guys are out of balance, each relationship has their own balance, each day has their own balance. It's only when you're out of balance that you'll clash, because the masculine energy is competitive and it typically clashes with masculine energy. So if you both are in your masculine, let's say he's 80%, you're 80%, it might be some clashing because it wants to lead, and two leaders can't be on one ship or the relationship will crash. So a man and a woman has to learn to naturally flow, once again, that Pisces, okay, she's being in her fully masculine right now. I have to be in my feminine and release and allow her to do her own thing. I can't take in and take over. Or he's in his masculine right now. I, find my best way to support him without trying to change his viewpoint right now, because he's not in that mode. So just checking in and checking into the energy and seeing what mode is this person in and how can I balance that without, interfering or messing up things.
I love what you said about the masculine going against the masculine. Now, my former self my former like very feminist self might have been like, I don't know about that 2 leaders thing, whatever. But I've been experiencing that in my relationship. My partner and I both identified that when I get into my masculine, it triggers his masculine. Like he's like my masculine will come out and it comes out a lot with business, like you're saying, Kirti, so I get short, direct statements, blah, blah, and then I'm like more bossy, and I'm like, I'm not being bossy. Things just need to get done. I only got so much time, and I'm like, I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. And you get into, it's like switching modes. Like, I'm not cooking dinner mode. I'm like, let's do it. And so if I'm that way, or like the other day, I'm proud to say that after over a year, I still forget my mask almost every time I go to the grocery store, forget that I have to wear it. So I took off my t-shirt and we like wrapped it around my face that we wanted to go in and get, to a drink or whatever. And now I've got like 5 layers of cloth over my face, and I'm trying to get my groceries before I pass out, right? But we like got through the end of the aisle, and I've got like dried beans in my hand, and we got one more item that we have to get to, and I'm like starting to swoon. And he's telling me a story about some guy, and I'm starting to lose consciousness because I don't even know what he's talking about. And I'm like, what? And I'm like, do we need to be talking about this story right now? Can we go? And he got real mad because he's like, that was my masculine coming out and barking at him, like I'm like, but I was dying, like I had to get out of there. And so it went to rest. But a lot of times, like when your masculine comes out, I want to like pop him or like, check him or whatever. And this is like a very gentle, loving man that we're talking about. And then there's times when, you know, I'm like, his feminine is driving me nuts, you know, and I'm like, like there she is again, you know, like that kind of thing. But it's just so funny to be, you know, if you knew either of us and you saw us in public, he's very masculine looking. I'm very feminine looking. I'm cooking all the meals. Like, he's opening the car door every single time I get into the car. We have somewhat of this traditional, you know, relationship. And then these archetypes come out and we're like, whoa. And again, maybe it's the moon in Cancer, moon in Scorpio thing, and then he's Gemini and I got Jupiter in Gemini. So we meeting of the minds as well. And, you know, we can figure it all out. We can like analyze and like figure out, okay, what's going on? And then of course we pull the cards, and then the cards are like, yep, you're right on the money. And then, you know, and then we figure out like, oh, okay, we're supposed to abandon all those. We are not those archetypes. They're just coming through us. And we can be observing them and be playful about it, but that shouldn't like get in the way of our relationship or our love. You know, it's just this really fascinating process to me, because it is a bit different than just the feminine or masculine energy. It's also these cultural notions, and a lot of the program was not the good program that is really working out for us. And so then, you know, I want to go back to what Kirti said too, is you know, we have to be different, but in order to be different, we need community to be different. It's easy for me to talk about these things with all of you here because you get where I'm coming from and you're living a similar life. But even so, we're all in different parts of not only the country, but the world right now, but connecting through Zoom. It's lovely, but we don't live in the same neighborhood. We don't live in the same city, and you can lose your way. And so these folks, these women and men that are writing in, they might be totally lost because they don't even know how to find folks like us on the internet or, you know, to work with. And so I'm so appreciative to have you all here, because you can connect with any of these lovely beings on the show. Somebody said it, if you're resonating, I think Kirti, if you're resonating with so-and-so, you know, hit them up, look at their website, go find them, see if you could read their book, you know, work with them. And then start being that person that creates this kind of community. And my partner and I, he teaches Qigong, and he just got certified in medical Qigong not too long ago, which is really exciting. So now we're both, you know, in this whole area of mind, body medicine, and we're doing a lot of offerings in particular this summer that are going to be easy for people to join, either very low cost and virtual, and then some in-person things. But that's just a way to start to vibrate with your community and get together, and it's fun. And Kirti's dance class is, you know, very similar to that. It's a place to be with your community. But that's what was coming up for me. But I also want to check in with Chad and maybe Shofar too, because Kirti had asked the men what they thought about this this masculine feminine standoff.
You want to go, Ak, or?
Please, after you, Ak. Please, thank you though.
Well, I'll be quick. Yeah, well, you know, I feel like Natasha, you just hit on it too, as far as the tree of life. You know, I remember that this author that I love, Raul Nefer Amin, he said that when it comes to the tree of life, that we're going to meet with failure if we're not able to start mastering and being able to bring all of the different personalities, you know, or gods or orishas, devas, whatever you want to call them, all these angels or aspects of our own self. If we're a hot-tempered person, but we need to be cool, and we're being too fucking hot, we're going to meet with failure in life, you know. So the truth is, and to being able to master a state of peace, so that the right personality at the right time, without having to think about it, because the mind is the slow one, you know. We need something much more vast than that. Like, it is our nature to heal, you know. So when we're talking about trauma, you know, if we get cut, this thing heals on its own. It's an intelligence that's already at play. So if I'm sitting there trying to think about doing it's going to get infected. We're done. You know, this is too slow. So how can I get this to like get out the way, right? You know, and do something else, you know, add, you know, 1 + 2 or something, you know, something that is better at doing, so that the real complex shit can be done. Going back to the single mother, the word mom has om in it. The word womb has om in it. in order to nurture all of the different personalities and bring forth which one needs to be at the right time, how can we mother peace? How can we mother our own? And that is where all the other personality traits spring from, is when we are able to go to a state of peace. And last thing I'll say on that is, in that state of peace, then we begin to know our nature. If you're a single mom, but are you a single mom who needs pride? Are you more like a lion? A lioness needs a pride. So she needs other single mothers.
Yeah.
Or are you a tigress? Maybe it's just you and the cub. So again,
maybe you have multiple husbands.
Maybe you have, and that's how lionesses get down. Yes. You know, sometimes they have multiple lions. So in that state of peace, in that start, again, the word mom has om in it, and womb has om in it. In that state of peace, you'll know what your nature is, and you will call in exactly what you need.
Ashe, ashe, ashe.
I love that.
Blessings upon blessings.
I'm gonna save you some trouble, Natasha. There's nothing I'm mad to that. That's 100% right there.
How is that possible? Nothing you had to add.
Stay in the state.
All right. Yeah, that's beautiful. That's beautiful.
Yeah, there's a place for all of us. I mean, that's the thing. We are Rainbow Tribe, y'all. Like, there's a place for all of us, every unique expression of us. I mean, where in nature do you see that there's only a place for one type of of tree? Or, I mean, biodiversity is the thing. Like, you know, it's so interesting that all of a sudden, why us as humans, we think that we have to restrict our capabilities and our possibilities, right? Like, I think it's really time for us to be different together.
Yeah, I love that.
I guess I will add one. I'm sorry, Natasha, what do you say?
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I say, with being in a state of peace, I will say also entails, don't judge yourself when those other aspects come up. Oh, I'm not supposed to be like that. I'm not supposed to act like that. That's not whatever conditioning we're operating from the moment that has conditioned us to believe whatever about ourselves. If it comes up, it comes up. Whether you express it and share it or not is a choice, and that's up to you. But, you know, don't judge yourself when it does come up, and let it be natural as it flows through.
Yeah.
Yes.
Self-love and reflection. Again, it feels like it's kind of going into the fear, or going into the.
We always find ourselves telling those who are in relationship, or, you know, women or men that we work with, that, you know, they don't call Tantra the warrior's path, or the tantric path the warrior's path for no reason. You know, it's like, or they, you know, the apocalypse. It sounds like these huge things, but it's really the awakening, right? It's like, it little by little, be easy on yourself. It's generations of programming going on, generations. So like, try to have fun with it. And I think that we created this so that we could remember who we are. You know? If there was no tension, what would orgasm be? What would be releasing, right? It's like, we need, the sympathetic system needs to clench so we can, So, you know, it's kind of like play in it.
Be like your divine, your most divine nature, you know, like the rapist and the one who is raped, you know, the murderer and the saint, we are all breathing. So creation has given us all breath right now. And you being a smaller aspect of the quote unquote big God, be like that to all of your aspects, like Chad was just saying. Be like that to all your aspects. The part of you that is being traumatized, the part of you that right now is showing up and doubting and fearful, love that part too. Give it breath. Give it, as Tara was saying, you know, earlier, give it feeling, give it embodiment. And then when it is time though, when it's the season, then you send it on its way. But all of them are welcome to the table because they're all aspects of you.
Ashe.
Yeah. Gosh, I think we could do a whole other episode on just sending it on its way too. Like, that's it. Especially
there's a time, you know.
Yes, energy helping us. And Devontae, you figured out how to raise your hand. I didn't even know that was a feature on here. So thank you for teaching me.
That hand has been up the whole time.
Reactions on his face hand.
At first, I was like, why is he telling me to stop? It's like Zoom telling me to stop something. Like, did I record
I thought
what I'm used to hearing.
I thought it put your hand down automatically, but you have to put it back down. So
Oh,
yeah, I
you
had
do
to
have
put
to
it
put it
down
back.
to re-raise it. But I did want to touch on the masculine and feminine once again.
Yeah, sure.
Knowledge of self is going to help you, stay in balance and in harmony with yourself and with others. If a person was to give me their birth time, I could literally tell them whether they're predominantly masculine or predominantly feminine in their natural resting state. So say for instance, me, I'm 50% masculine, 50% feminine. So in my natural resting state, I'm neither and I'm both at the same time. So it's much easier for me to either go masculine or go feminine. But I've seen women whose charts is about, and not just astrology, but even deeper than that, who's about 70% masculine. And it's very hard for them to go into their feminine because they're 70% of it. So it takes a little bit more work in that area. And I know people like my goddess, she's 70% feminine. So it's harder for her to go into her masculine and, try to lead or do that type of thing. So it's just knowing thyself. And then once you know that partner, anybody that you're engaged with or plan on getting a relationship with, I recommend studying them so you can know what they predominantly are as well. So you can best, flow with them.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's a lot of unwinding to do. But that's what I love about astrology too, because it does give you kind of a roadmap, and it can give you a little overview of what you're going to experience, what you're getting into, as far as that compatibility too. Yeah, I appreciate that. That's amazing. Anybody else have any say? And also, I want to say we have a new commenter too. I don't know if I can say it right. Vinicius Antunes from Brazil says, greetings from Brazil. That was very pleasant. Thank you for coming on and saying hi. And if anybody live is watching and you have a question, pop it in there, because I said I would take some live questions. So far, it's been a lot of comments, and it seems like people are really enjoying it. So nice work, everyone. But also, if there's any questions that come up, go ahead and put it in now. Anyone else have anything to say?
I just wanted to kind of like also just bring what I heard with so many comments with everyone on the panel was that be gentle with yourself, love yourself. One of the things I used to always say to my friends, my clients, is be your own best friend. When those thought processes come up, when those beliefs come up, if you were your best friend who heard you say that, what would your best friend say to you? So be your own best friend. When you see this and go, oh gosh, I love you so much. That's not true, right? Like, you're beautiful. Who told you that? So being your own best friend in these moments of just knowing that when these thoughts come up, love on them, and then be your own best friend. What would your best friend say to you? They wouldn't be like, yeah, right. You're not worthy of love. They'd be like, girl, you're so worthy of love. Do you not know how amazing you are? How do you know how amazing you are? So just really allowing yourself to become your own best friend in those moments. Even just go stop and look in a mirror and talk to yourself. Like, what are you talking about? You're gorgeous. You're so worthy of partnership in whatever way it looks like.
Mm-hmm.
And so just really just kind of tying together that I heard so much of that in everyone's comment too, of just being your own best friend and just really come from a space of what would your best friend say?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Bringing in that gentleness. Yeah. A lot of fearlessness, but also gentleness and nurturing self. Absolutely. And I can't help, now that Shofar brought it up, Chad's got the elephant in the room. And I'm thinking, how is it that his background is an elephant in the room when, Chad, you are one of the most direct people that I know. Like, there's no elephant that's allowed in your metaphorical room ever. Probably you're going to bring it up immediately. Again, that's, I think, somewhat of an Aries thing. But then I started thinking, I've got several elephants in my room too, and I'm a pretty direct person. So I don't know where that came from.
Wealth and protection.
Yeah, protection, charging forward, and the divine feminine too. Elephants are matrilineal, so they travel in a group of
and if you've ever been around a herd of elephants, you know the difference. Yeah, I spent a while in Africa, and they're just magical beings. They're so smart and so curious, and like literally can walk into a tiny room with their huge bodies and not break a single thing. Wow. It means you're nice. So I would love to have an elephant in my room. They're amazing.
I believe that elephants also always know where the water source is.
Yeah, they do. I was watching a nature show. We've been into the Apple TV nature shows, and I was watching this herd, and they traveled for weeks and weeks without water. But yeah, they go instinctively go to these like mud holes to get just enough water, and then they have to, traverse long enough, otherwise they'll die. And one of them, of course, the little baby died of dehydration because they didn't make it in time with the drought or whatever. And yeah, it broke my heart. So I feel you, Tara. Like I was like, fell in love just after like 40 minutes of watching this herd of elephants in a documentary. I'm all in. I'm like, I'm part of the tribe. I'm like, yes, no, we didn't make it. Oh my gosh.
I know we had actually we had a 7-year-old bull who he was caught in a trap, and the one vet that was legally allowed to handle the tranquilizer was out of country. So we unfortunately had to watch this elephant die right in front of us because he came for help and no one was allowed to touch him. But then we also saw the true beauty of circle of life in a way that most people, that every single creature in that land partook of the abundance of this elephant and was alive because of it. So, but yeah, they're just the whole energy that they're just magical beings. And yeah, we were actually in a lodge where they built the lodge all open aired around the mango tree because elephants do not deviate. So they have their path. And if you build something, they will knock it down because that is their path. So they go right through the lodge and take from their mango tree and they're on their migratory pattern in November. So there's no getting out of there. You just get out of their way. So yeah. And on a fun note, I no longer ever use the comment, he's hung like a horse. I say he's hung like an elephant because that thing actually, your personality of the phone and that waves at you and everything. It's amazing.
if we're to get really honest.
You get a wink and a wave.
Yeah, a wink and a wave. Okay. Well, I don't want to keep you too long. I know I said sometimes we go over an hour and it's been 2, but we've got a big knowledgeable bunch. The time flew by for me. I'm totally charged, energized. I hope everyone that's watching live and that's going to watch the replay of this is as well. I do put the replay link in my Instagram bio the next day, each morning. And this is our last show. This is our season finale. And I want to thank each of you for being such a special part of the show and a contributor to its success, because without all of you, it wouldn't have lasted as long as it did. And it's not over. This is just, we're taking a break for summer because we deserve a break, as the feminine does, to rebirth and a new season, a new offspring. And I am definitely open to creative ideas, for season 2, and definitely repeat visits. I know Kirti and she's been popping on every other week with consistency. Talk about that masculinity right there. That's the kind of like, I appreciate it. That's been lovely.
I got you, girl.
I got
Okay. That caught me off guard too. I'm just like, what's that like?
So the funny thing about Kirti is she has this alter ego, which we named Dirty Curty, Dirty Kurt, which is Uncle Kurt, that comes out and has some jokes. And so today, I don't know what got in me. Maybe it's the eclipse coming. I don't know. Maybe because I've been sugar busting again. I got a little juiced up a little bit more than normal, and I've had just the sexual jokes coming out left and right and puns. And my poor partner is looking at me like, why do you gotta say that? And I'm like, I wish Uncle Kurt was here right now, because Uncle Kurt would totally love that joke, and you don't even appreciate it. So yeah, you got me. I'm missing that. Missing that bro talk. So, but yeah, just super happy for all of you to be here, and it was really an honor and a pleasure. And letting everybody know, go find these folks online. A couple of you have your websites here. Chad's on Instagram. Kirti and Shofar are the most outside of the pale now, the black sheep outside of the pale. You left all social media. You're waving your protest flag, but you can find them on their websites. They're still doing amazing work. And I know
Just got tired of finding creative ways to say sex.
Yeah, right.
Cock.
And when show posted like the fertility rites of passage dance and it got taken down, we were like, okay, yeah, what? It's not. We just got to find another way to do this. Yeah.
It's offensive. It's really offensive. It's culturally offensive. It really is the way that, and you know, they say the algorithms, I won't talk about this too much because then I don't want to end on an angry note, but they say the algorithms, and I heard this from Yelp too when I was being sexually harassed. They said the algorithms are just overly sensitive is all. That's why, because you know, it could be a good post, but that just, it's like, you know, they're just being cautious. But those algorithms don't protect women from being sexually harassed. They don't protect women from like being objectified or used as, you know, porn. They don't really get away. They don't stream out the porn or the harmful sexuality. So I don't know if you can create an algorithm that's that sensitive, that can find a Yelp review and snuff it out to be fake or suspicious. You can certainly find an algorithm that can snuff out a sexual predator that is not even making sense in their comment, or you know, that sort of thing. So I'm with you on that. I think, I don't know what's happening, but it's ridiculous. So yeah, I mean, we're still broadcasting. So we got to say, and that's what we're doing. We're healing. We're trying to heal this.
And I literally got to stroke my clit the entire time.
Oh, that's right. Show people what you have, the rose gold and the, yeah.
So these are whenever I have women say they're not orgasmic because their clit's too small. This is an actual clitoris when you take it out of the body. So this is actually real life size. So when they say that, I say no. So it's you know, I just like love to have these tools. Like, look, it's a clit party. Even my youngest daughter's like, and I say, but you love pussy. Why would you be wanting to be embarrassed about this? Isn't this amazing? Wouldn't you like to know more about this beautiful part of you? So yeah, so it's you know, just to show pictures. And I got it off of Etsy. So it came from Spain, hand carved. So I recommend go on there and just look up clitoris sculptures. They were so lovely. They even sent me a nice little thank you card for letting them make me some clits. So
yeah, and if you need to know more about that anatomy, because I know our first question had to do with self-pleasuring as well as telling your man partner what you want to turn you on rather than, you know, these other things. Tara is amazing at the female anatomy, and she knows more than most physicians by far about what's going on with the pleasure parts that some doctors think they don't even exist. Like when you told me about the Bartholomew glands, the Skene's glands, where there's, can you just tell everybody that again? Because it's a fascinating factoid with squirting.
Well, there's a great book. Some people will be charged, but it's called The Better Half, and it's on the genetic superiority of women. But it's written by a male geneticist, and it actually grows into that because I got so excited because I bought this book, and I'm not going to say what it is. And it's like something Bible, and it's supposed to be written by a gynecologist. And that person basically said, women don't ejaculate, it's just urine, and they don't have the ability to ejaculate. And this is from a physician. And this geneticist talked about how this patient of his had a name that was kind of unisex, and they mistook the name for male when they were really female. So they did tests and blood work on this female that they would normally do on a male. And when they did, they had these unusually high numbers in their prostate. And she was a woman. Her name was Sam, but she just went by Sam. And that's what he said. Women have prostates. This is where we ejaculate. So our prostate is not like a male's. It's spread out. And it is what our G spot is, a clitoral cluster, and it's all these ejaculatory ducts around the urethra. And so we do have a male prostate, and we do ejaculate, and it is a different kind of orgasm than a clitoral orgasm. And it's a different kind of orgasm than a cervical orgasm. So, and we do have these little glands. So ladies, if you want, gentlemen, if you're curious about knowing more about your woman's beautiful yoni, get a nice light. I have this nice halo light. You can get a like flashlight and really go in and you spread the lips, and right next to the urethra, there's two tiny little holes on either side of the urethra. For those who don't know what that is, that's where the pee comes out. but there's two tiny little holes, but it's also where the ejaculate comes out. And those are actually these little glands called Skene's glands. And the Skene's glands are actually a part of helping with the ejaculation process. So it's really beautiful and for most, one of the things I have found on so many different just experiences for women is as soon as we are given permission, it's like the lotus begins to bloom. When we're actually told you do have a prostate, you can ejaculate. And every woman ejaculates, they just don't always know, because not everyone ejaculates outward. But if you've ever had really good sex and there's the wet spot, that's not your partner's. Their semen's thick. It's you ejaculated, but it may just be a gentle extra wetness coming out, or it might come through the urethra and then get reabsorbed back in the body and just not come outward. So just knowing that just because you don't see the evidence doesn't mean that it's not still pleasurable in there. So one of my passions is to educate women on their amazing, intricate, beautiful bodies, and to educate men too, because I know this world is changing, because so many men are actually saying, how do I have great sex with my partner? I want her to be pleased as much as I am. And they are genuinely wanting to know. And so that's my passion, is to teach how beautiful and intricate, and that it's not just the tiny nub. This is all most people see, is this little part here that's it. And it's all this underneath and so much more. This is just the general anatomy, not mentioning all the accessories that go with that. So yeah.
Fascinating. It's fascinating for me.
My pussy love tangent over.
Yeah, well, and I want to direct people back to your episode that we did together. What did we even title it? I can't remember the title now.
Was it Female Anatomy, the Pleasure in Your Pussy, I think, or something like that.
Yeah, it had to do with female anatomy. So that is in the Goddess Vibrations playlist. All of these episodes with all these beautiful folks. You see Kirti and Show there a lot. Everybody else, I think, had one or two times. And it's female anatomy, fantastic episode. I think it probably had almost the most views too, so people were watching that in their secret hiding spots probably. So nobody could overhear.
I want to acknowledge that the culture does need to change, but it is changing, that there's more and more people seeking this, and there's more and more people wanting this, and there's more and more people wanting to reprogram this patriarchal society that we're in. And it's both men and women. It's not just one side. So just really want to celebrate that you're getting views, because people want to know how to shift and change. So what a beautiful world this is becoming.
And hats off to Tantra, unity, the divine masculine, the divine feminine, whether you're in that feminine or masculine body, or no gender body, like Devante was talking about, where you're 50-50 and you could go swing either way in your energies. It's all just energy, right? That turns into matter, and honoring both. We need both. We have to have both, and it's all beautiful. That's how we spiral up and transcend. So thank you all. I don't want to say goodbye. That's a hard part. I feel like we're at a little party, but we got to sign off now because it's been 2 hours, and it's really excited to meet with you all again. Thank you so much.
Natasha, congratulations on season 1, and thank you for putting something like this out here. The world needs it, and thank you for including all this.
Thank you so much for creating this show and having your vision and just being the connector that you are. You're always looking at how you can make this work more impactful and spread it and share the love and light. And just, I want to say personally, just thank you for like giving me a platform for this loud voice that has been dying to come out. And you saw it and you were like, I got a place where I think we can put this voice in action. So thank you for seeing me.
Yeah. Oh, of course. Thank you for seeing me, and thank you for being my partner and co-collaborator.
Yeah.
Yeah, we appreciate the vibration that you're holding. Again, that is the name itself, Goddess Vibration. And holding that vibration, that you're doing, and making room for all of us, to be able to share. You definitely are seen and appreciated.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate that.
Thank you so much for having me, inviting me, and including me in the season finale. I feel like we just finished, maybe a Netflix series or something.
Yeah, right. I know.
Right, with the 2-hour season finale. You have
We don't want to say bye to any of the characters yet.
Yeah,
Researching them and like, oh, what are they doing now?
it can't be over. Yeah, it can't be over. Okay, well, there'll be more to be
Yes.
continued for sure. And really excited just to have you all on and sharing your energy again. So
Please.
enjoy this upcoming full moon, the eclipse. Devontae, thank you so much for those astro insights. And let's all stay connected. Let's keep these goddess vibrations going even through the summer.
Yes.
Peace, Chad. Hey, nice to meet you, Tara and Devontae.
Thank you. Yes, it was so lovely to meet all of you
Peace.
tonight. Thank you. You just ended my night beautifully. Thank you so much.
All right.
Good job.